very polite crowd, a very large crowd too, which makes me nervous, probably less nervous than Alan, who's done this a lot here. But my name is Nick Taylor-Gracie. I'm the editor of OpenFile.ca, and beside me is Alan Neal, host of CBC's All in a Day. He just rushed over from... Got through the traffic. And so I'm going to moderate the first part of the debate, and Alan will moderate the second part of the debate. And I will be moderating the first part because it has to do with OpenFile. A lot of you submitted questions at OpenFile.ca like we asked you to, and so they're right here beside me. We might be an innovative, collaborative local news website, but it's pretty low tech. Way to ask the questions, but it's the best thing. It's going to pick randomly from this pile of little pieces of paper. And then each candidate, in the order that we have on this paper right here, will answer for 90 seconds each. Yeah, and then after the 90 seconds, they'll move on to the next, and then after they're all finished, we will move on to the next question. So, I guess without further ado, the high-tech question selection process. First question is, the only housing being built these days in downtown Ottawa is condos. What will you and your party do to end the crisis of homelessness in Ottawa? Will you commit to a national housing strategy that reinvests the savings from expiring operating agreements, that protects existing social housing stock, and that provides adequate funding to create new affordable housing? And first up is Jen Hunter.
Thank you very much. I'll remain sitting if that's okay with everyone. So in terms of ending homelessness, I'm always delighted when we get asked questions that differ from our traditionally well-known base of information, which is obviously the environment. In terms of ending homelessness, again, I'm known for using my iPad and referring to the page in Vision Green when we talk about this. So on page 94 and 95, we've actually done some thinking about this and we've worked on some solutions. I'm just going to go right to the Green Party MPs. I'm going to skip the context. We would advocate for the inclusion of a clause in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms that specifically states that everyone living in Canada is entitled to safe shelter or, maybe and/or, affordable housing. Urge the government to appoint a Minister for Housing to oversee development and implementation of a national affordable housing plan. Require the National Affordable Housing Plan to set an annual rate of building affordable housing so that lack of access to affordable housing is no longer a factor in homelessness by 2019. Change the mandate of the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to include responsibility, as it once had, for affordable, non-market and cooperative housing. Create a national affordable housing program that provides sufficient funds annually to the CMHC, to community-based agencies across Canada to ensure an adequate supply of new subsidized affordable homes is built. 20,000 new and 10,000 rehabilitated affordable units. We have some more ideas, but that is giving you a sense of where we stand on this issue, and it's time to vote green.
Next is Scott Bradley.
Over the course of the campaign, I've spoken with many people in our community who, in fact, are living in community housing. Last week we were at one of the community housing buildings on Lisborough Avenue. And what's clear as a challenge is that many people are facing in these buildings. And in fact, in the case of Lisborough Avenue, they have one elevator that hasn't been working for a few months now. I mean, this is a 24-story building surviving on one elevator. And it's making life extremely difficult for the people in that facility. And so what we're talking about in the Liberal plan is a realistic cost-out program to invest $550 million directly back into housing over the next 2 years. Now, part of that money is going to go directly to programs to, in fact, provide infrastructure support for existing community housing initiatives, and also to build some of the more traditional community housing initiatives across the country. The second piece of this that I quite like, in fact, is a much more forward-looking approach to community housing that, in fact, provides incentives and support to smaller developers. So developers that are looking at building 4 or 5 units on 2 or 3 lots in a community like Hittenburg, where in fact the opportunity is to provide, as I mentioned, the reference was about condominiums, but in fact you're providing that integrated mixed type of community housing support that's directly integrated into the community. I'm excited about the fact that we're forward looking into housing policy.
The Alliance to End Homelessness, you should go on their website, they just put a report card out. And it shows how we're doing. And we've got a lot of work to do. Just so you know, we have about 7,000 people who are accessing emergency shelters in the nation's capital. We're talking about over 1,000 kids who are in the emergency shelters. Just break open that myth about what homelessness is, for those who don't. The myth is that it's a person who you stereotypically thought of growing up, who's male and a certain age. This is about families, this is about our neighbors, this is about our community. We need to build more affordable housing, so we have committed to, and we put legislation forward in the House, a National Housing Act, so that the federal government will legislatively have responsibility. And we have to fund that, and we have to put money back that was taken out. And we have to make sure that our housing stock that we have is up to scratch. And I was happy to push for stimulus money to get into some of our Ottawa housing units to make sure they're brought up to standards that are livable. But finally, we have surplus land. There's 2 pockets of land that I'm going to be pushing for to be developed for affordable housing. LeBreton Flats Phase 2, Phase 1 was a disaster. And also Carling and Bronson, there's a surplus piece of federal land. I'll be working on that. We need to get going. It's about our neighbors, it's about our community, it's about people.
Thank you for your question. The Conservative Party and myself believe the decisions about housing in the community, in the city, are best made by the city in conjunction with working with the citizens in the community. Federal oversight is never going to really answer the problem, never really going to know the information. You have to work with the people living in the cities themselves and the community groups there. The responsibility of the federal government is to make sure the dollars are available for a city to invest in itself and to solve its problems. I'm personally proud of the fact that the infrastructure dollars that went as part of the stimulus package made more dollars available to the province and to the municipality in order to invest in local housing. It's one of those things we all need to push municipal government to do. I've spoken to a lot of people in community housing as well in my weeks of knocking on doors. And a lot of them tell me the same thing. They want us to see they want to see the government focus on creating an environment where they can find jobs, where they can improve their lives, and pull themselves out of homelessness or borderline homelessness. And that is something the Conservative Party takes very seriously. We know we need to raise the tide so that all ships get raised. We want to make sure we make the right decisions so that people can get out of homelessness and people don't end up homeless in the first place. And that's a priority I'm going to take very seriously as an MP. Thank you.